Shut up and sit down.
I bike hard, I bike fast, try to save that money, I don't need gas. Got a lane for myself, I'll take yours.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Burning calories so I can eat Garrett's-elli. Still a bit confused why I have a pot belly. I bought this bike for several dollars. It's worth the price, now I look like a baller.
Hustling for money,
not tired. I'm not tired at all.
Second's expensive when you buy a brand name.
She's light as a feather, I'll never have better.
Her chain's off the chain. I'll never
While
be the
Matt and
same.
Grand, Evan Price, Lance Hapler, and Jake Von Touring whine about being tired and needing time off, I'll be here cranking out gem after gem. We know who does all of the heavy lifting around here, so don't be surprised when it's just me next week. I've got you covered, my friend. Enjoy the Dialed podcast and I'll see you next week.
I bike hard, I bike fast.
You're not gonna have your mommies run behind you anymore and wipe your little douches. Oh no, it's time now to turn this mush into muscles.
Everywhere I went, I rode my bike. Those were the best days of my life.
Hey y'all, Jake's computer here. I was screwing with the guys for the first 15 minutes, but they figured out what I was up to. You guys got me this time, but I'll be back.
Computers are about trying to murder you in a lake.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Bonder. I'm here with Lance Friggin.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
Freaking Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler. Welcome.
Back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle. Here we are, rolling, doing shows.
To Friggin's left, Matt LeGrand.
Freaking left. You guys look great today. What are we talking? What's my catchphrase?
Turn it over.
I don't remember what I. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look fantastic.
Okay,
How
hold
about
that thought. I have gifts for both of you.
Okay, I know. It's what's funny is he hid them. He came in the door. I saw that he brought some stuff. He came in the door. He went off to the side for a second, which I just assumed that he had some stuff to drop off for you because then he waits for us to press record on the podcast, and then he's like, wait, pause. Oh, hold on. Does he need help with the door? Maybe. Okay, no, I'm not going to help him anyway. Is this like, oh, we have leftover food and we want you to get fat?
Yes.
Matt, we want Matt to get fat.
Now, wait.
Fat Matt.
That's all from Matt. Have you guys ever seen the movie Stand By Me?
Yes.
Remember the pie eating contest?
Okay, so we have
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a box of mini pies for Matt's family.
You know what's okay?
Apple and Marionberry. And
We have people coming into town today too, so it will be used and abused.
box of mini pies and then a box of mini pies for Jake's family.
That will get eaten.
And nothing for frickin' Evan because he wasn't here and he's a loser.
Dang it, Mr. Price.
So boxes of pies.
In Evan's defense, I was like, "Are we doing a podcast? How about right now?" Literally, that's the text I sent 30 minutes ago, and these guys are like, "Yep, let's do it."
Yeah.
And then
it was even better than the normal text I get from Matt.
Yeah, 5 minute. You want to go for a bike ride? How about when? When are we gonna do that? How about now?
I've got a bottle of red wine Cabernet for both of you.
Good.
2 bottles of Italian Prosecco, which is like
Wow.
champagne.
Yes.
It's kind of like Italian champagne.
Wow.
And there's some beers in there for both of you.
Ooh, okay, nice.
And also,
To grab one of those on the way out.
and I got you each 4 of the takeaway gifts, which are little jars of honey with little seed packets of wildflowers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Brandy made all this crap.
So what happens if I eat 3 or 4 of those pies and then chug that Cabernet?
And we go for a ride immediately after.
And we do hills
And
hard.
we do hills hard. We're on it. Let's do that.
You're riding behind me, Lance.
It wouldn't be the first thing I've been puked on.
I know. I'm thinking to myself,
By yourself.
you don't have to give Lance anything. He'll throw up no matter what. So salsa, maybe salsa.
I threw up recently on a ride, and every time I do it, I just laugh at myself. I'm
what happened this time? What happened most recently? It wasn't salsa.
It was just eating too close to a hard ride.
Okay.
So I'm doing a hard
workout?
interval effort.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing an outside workout, and I'm like, oh,
I'm gonna throw up.
here comes the Chipotle.
Chipotle. It's always some Mexican something.
You do puke on rides at least a dozen times, and there's probably another dozen that I don't even know about, like the ones you just mentioned. Matt, how many times have you puked because of a workout?
Running or cycling?
All the above.
A lot.
Really?
Well, because I was more sensitive when I was younger to stuff like that. And so, yes. I got stories galore. I actually was like the favorite to win the state championships in the mile my senior year. And during the sectional race, we have to do sectionals to qualify for senior year. I was running, wasn't even that fast. I basically had to run, let's say 4:45 or something like to qualify for state. It wasn't much.
Yeah.
And I threw up because it was in Alabama. You go from like reasonable weather to insanely stupid hot. So I threw up. I kind of stepped off the track and I was throwing up, whatever. Got back on the track, ran another lap, then threw up some more. And then I finally just like dropped out and my coach was like, it's fine, doesn't matter. Like you already stepped off the track the previous time, so it wouldn't have mattered. Had you finished, you should have been disqualified anyway.
Oh, right.
And he was like, for the 2 mile, which is like even more my race, he was like, don't go hard. Just finish.
Cruise it. Just
cruise it. Yeah, he was like, do not try to win the race. Just finish.
I love it.
So I didn't even make it to state in the mile my senior year.
Oh.
Puke talk. This has been Puke talk. I thought it was going to be
Puke talk.
Wah, wah, wah.
Vomit comment.
I was telling my wife that same story like a week or two ago. I don't know why the puke talk was, some sort of puke conversation. And, I think it was because Ethan gets upset. His stomach gets upset before these races too. And he throws up before races. And I was telling her like, yeah, I had, same thing, sensitive stomach. And she was like, you've never told me that story. Podcast needs to know.
People need to know.
The podcast needs to know.
You should
have
know.
a sensitive stomach?
I do not have a sensitive stomach. I have a pretty
Let's get some Chipotle in you.
steel, like I have a steel trap stomach, and this isn't like I have the flu vomit. Like everything's coming up. It's like
just like a one and done.
It's like one and done, and and it's usually it's like I've taken in too much stuff to my stomach, or I even threw up at Unbound once, but because I was trying to hammer carbohydrates, and it was by hour 4, it was too much. I was trying to do 100 grams of carbs an hour, and I had not trained it, and by hour 4, it was too much, and I puked like once, and I'm like, oh, done.
You're lucky that it wasn't something worse, because sometimes like when you overcarb, it's the opposite direction.
It's the other end of the esophagus.
It's basically a lot of... a lot of times it's like the
esophagus.
The esophagus.
It's like not enough blood flow to your stomach because you're working hard, your muscles are working hard, and it's not.
And
good.
it's not processing any of it,
and it hurts.
And it hurts, so it needs to come out.
Yeah.
Now it's fair to say that there's a difference between puking, like a good heave, and like a regurgitation.
Yes, these are regurgitations. Yeah. No, it's not really, but But I am like, it's just like this. I'm riding along, I'm like, oh, what am I gonna burp? Nope, bloop, and then I just laugh. Yeah. It's like I puke and I just laugh. And I'm like, oh, I guess I puked again. So they are kind of regurgitations. Yeah.
If it's more than your mouth can hold.
Yeah, yeah. I'm spitting stuff out, and I'm looking around to see if anybody's watching me or if there's a car behind me or.
We're
never puke because of exercise, and that
you push yourself hard, but you probably also, well, maybe not. I mean, usually you start being careful about timing eating and stuff like that because you've had problems in the past.
Mine are all from mistiming issues. It's not because I can go really, really hard and not puke. It's not from overexertion. It's from there's too much stuff in my stomach.
Yeah.
Sour stomach, but I've never puked, so let's hope it stays that way.
We're getting close to 10 minutes into the podcast. We've talked about puking.
All we've talked about is puking.
We did our intro. We talked about puking. We did the gifts. So it's so far pretty good podcast, really.
How many times would you guys say that you've thrown up since? Well, we'll just say first grade. There's a reason for me asking that. About how many times?
Since first grade, a ton of times.
You lost track. You can't even keep track of it.
1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 times. Many.
1,000.
All the different reasons, like food poisoning.
Yep.
The whole gamut. My wife has had 3 children and has lived an entire life and has not thrown up since the first grade.
Are you kidding me?
She has a full-on phobia of throwing up.
Well, it's not pleasant.
If anybody in the house mentions anything about their stomach being upset, you just opened up Pandora's box because she's going to be on you for like the next 24 hours, and she will literally ask you every 5 to 10 minutes, are you feeling okay? Are you going to throw up? Because she has such a phobia.
She wants to be far away from it.
She wants to be far away from it. She can't hear it. She can't see it. She can't do anything of it because A, it I guess grosses her out and she's scared.
Yeah.
But B, she doesn't want it to happen to her. To her, it's like that's like one tiny little ratchet above death. She's gonna throw up.
Oh, I can't wait to go camping with you. The game is on.
Oh man. Oh, this stomach virus. I keep having this stomach virus.
I'm okay though. Don't worry.
Don't worry. Wait, is this your drink or my drink?
We're going to go back to the Stand By Me little reference. Maybe we should all do something where we take a swig of casserole. Isn't that what they use?
That's right. And you eat some pies and then puke it all up.
Watch her run for the hills.
You know what I keep thinking about? I keep thinking about the poster that's at the lab. The shop. There's this poster in the bathroom, and it's basically of Lance, and it's something about salsa, and it's just this guy just
Sun
ralphing.
Valley Salsa Company. It's
And
KOM fuel.
And
is
it's this
what
guy that's
Dylan
just
Wiggins made.
puking off of his bike, and it is so well done.
It's very well done.
Anything that Dylan touches is gold. Is pure gold.
Those things have been hanging up at the lab now for over a year, and we get so many awesome comments about them. People absolutely love it.
People ask about the puke poster in the bathroom. Yeah. They're like, "What is that?"
People will come out of the bathroom often to say, "That poster is hilarious." Like, at first glance, I didn't think anything of it. Then I looked a little bit closer, and sometimes you hear people even chuckling.
It's all the poster.
Again, this has been pure.
We're well past.
Sorry.
Bubbly sparkly water.
Yeah, my weekend was awesome. The wedding was fantastic. Yep. It was nothing but love and party and just a great time and very few issues, and the weather was great and all my family was there. I just had this amazing weekend. And thank you to my teammates who were able to come. I know I invited a lot of you, but not everybody could come. It was a busy weekend, but I had some teammates that came, and I ended up sitting with my teammates that night instead of my family.
Smart move. Your wife will remember that forever.
She's like my sister. There was a table with I have 5 sisters.
Yeah.
And so there was a table with my mom and all my sisters and all my nephews and nieces and cousins and all this stuff. And they're like, Darby and Julia are reading their vows to each other. And my mom is like, "Where's Lance? Why isn't he sitting here?" And she looks over. I'm sitting at the table with my teammates.
I can imagine you grabbing your plate of food, and you're about to sit down with your sisters, and you're like,
"Nope, I'm gonna go sit with Jake."
Yeah,
that was funny because I feel like I know your mom just because I've talked with you about your family and your mom so many times. I don't think I've ever actually met her in person. At least I don't think so.
Sure.
Better. The first thing she tells me is "You need to give my son back to me. You've taken him away from all the time. I never get to see him anymore." She's always off and riding his bikes with you. I'm like, "I'm sorry." I want to give her a big hug. So.
That's awesome.
That sounds about right.
Good times.
Anyway,
that was fun.
It was a good time. It was a party.
That was good food.
Great food. Yeah.
Nice.
Stop, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Matt. Matt was at a
swim meet. All week. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was all the time.
That's thick.
I mean, did you tally how many hours that was in total for you?
I don't know. It's a lot. Those days are so long because it's hot. We're outside the whole time.
Oh, yeah, and it was warm.
It was hot.
Yesterday, I had to go sit at a 3v3 soccer tournament.
Boy.
My wife and my oldest were out of town. They're up in Seattle at
the Taylor Swift concert.
Okay.
With the rest of the world. Oh my God, that's
everyone was there. Yeah.
Bonkers for 2 nights. But
100,000 people.
Yeah. So
over, I think. I don't remember what it was. The numbers are staggering.
They're staggering. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
You guys looked at how the financial breakdowns of how she's doing for all of these concerts?
I think the tour was going to be hit $1 billion for the tour or something. It's the biggest ever.
It's $1 billion for the tour. Her take is roughly half of that, and they've broken down all of the numbers she's going to make off of this tour for 106 shows, over $500 million. That's her take.
Oh my God!
It's interesting to me. It does feel monumentous. I don't think I can think of anything in our history. I'm only a young man of 44, so you guys might be able to remember things further back, but I can't think of anything like this massive.
It's the biggest grossing concert of all time.
Yeah,
pretty bonkers.
It seems interesting.
Amazing.
My wife and daughter waited in line. They got there a day before. So they had 2 concerts. The first one was on Friday night, I think it was, and the second one was on Saturday. No, I said
Saturday and Sunday.
So they went to the Sunday night one.
Okay.
The Saturday night one, they showed up early to get the quote-unquote merch, and she makes millions of dollars from each show in just merchandise.
Just in merchandise.
And they waited in line for something like 5 or 6 hours. And my daughter
gosh.
the sweatshirt, and they get up there and they're sold out.
5 hours.
It was crazy. But the whole time, it was a full-on party atmosphere. And she actually started the show, and she's playing in concert, and there was a sea of people out there outside of the concert, either getting merch or just listening to the concert because it's an outdoor stadium. And they were all singing along, and they were dancing.
I saw some TikTok like clips of it. Yeah.
So, because they didn't have the sweatshirt, what did they do? They came back the next morning and they stood on.
Oh my god!
And I think she finally got it, but my daughter was beside herself. She's been a huge Taylor Swift fan
for a long time,
4 or 5 years old, and it's just like it means the world to her. And she got to go to this, and it was a fantastic.
I'm glad that she got to do it. I don't understand like that scenario and that environment is like. That's horrible for me. Like a person, I don't like people. I don't like any of you guys. But like the whole thing is just like, oh man, that's torture chamber to me.
My wife said she was quite claustrophobic.
Yeah,
and there was a sea of people there, but it was a fun experience.
Good.
It's Taylor Swift. She kind of has universal appeal, you know. She has this underdog universal appeal.
I don't dislike Taylor Swift,
right? So,
but I'm not going to go spend a lot of money to sit with a whole bunch of people. That's true. I mean, I would watch it on TV or something, but I'd probably change channel.
For 20 minutes or so. Maybe my favorite song, period.
That's it.
Hold on, let me bring this back around.
Okay. Sorry.
I went to the soccer tournament. We left at like 8:15 in the morning, and I was there until almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Game after game.
Holy
bonkers. My daughter's team crushed it, and they ended up winning their second tournament in a row.
Oh, wow.
Weekends in a row, they've won twice. What happens when you sit out in the sun, even though you apply...
Buckets of sunscreen.
Pretty nice tan, but there was one spot on my body.
Oh boy.
You've got one like you wore shorter socks than normal,
and it's like a stripe.
Look at those sock tan lines. Have you seen sock tan lines that nice in a while?
That's a nice line right there.
I don't think I have those. Nope.
I normally have a sock tan line, but
that was sharp.
Well, I told Lance like to the wedding like. I'm like, I think it was you. I told maybe it was somebody else on the team. I'm like, I almost wore sandals to that, but then I put the sandals on and looked down at my feet, and I'm like, yeah, that sock tan line is. Right? So I opted to wear like some pants and whatever, and just go forward. And then fast forward to now, that sock tan line is like 10 times worse.
Crisp. I like
sharp. It. People pay good money for sharp lines like that.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's do it.
All right, thanks for talking, guys.
That's it.
We'll see you
we don't need to talk about bikes, do we? We got T Swift. We covered puking. T Swift.
Weddings.
We're good.
Prosecco.
Yeah,
that's
good.
it.
We got this.
All right. The tour's over, you guys.
Okay, it turns out that we had a little bit of an audio issue there. It's fixed now. But so if that first bit, I sound a little echoey or sound like I'm a mile away, apologies. Try and fix that in post.
Jake's mic wasn't working properly for some reason, so
it was.
You didn't say anything funny anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, I'm the dud on the show anyway, so who cares? All right, let's get back to what we came here to talk about, and we're just gonna kind of sum up the tour, a little tour summary, a little wrap up party. You guys have anything that you want to share?
Hot takes. Are we going to do hot takes?
And we're going to do some hot takes too.
Okay. So we're going to do a summary and then hot takes?
Yeah, let's just kind of wrap it up. Just like, and I want to discuss kind of our final podium standings.
Oh, we should do that.
Talk a little bit maybe about some fantasy stuff that was
the fantasy
place.
Thing doesn't matter.
Yes.
Fantasy doesn't matter.
You know what? You weren't last, Matt.
I know. But what's important is the predictions that we made on the podcast.
Yes, we need to. Yeah, that's true. No, I don't want to do that. I tell you, I woke up kind of depressed this morning. I'm like, there's no tour. There is the women's tour that has started.
The Femmes, yep.
This is the tour hangover.
Yes.
It happens every year.
It's kind of a bummer. I'm like, I've been waking up and like
watching
like right away, and now we don't have that. So I'll have to watch the women's.
You generally will get up and start about what time though, and then you will rewind it a couple hours?
I wake up at like 7 and then rewind as far as the Peacock app will allow me to rewind it, which is only 2 hours.
Sure.
It's not like when it was just broadcast on like an NBC channel.
Yeah.
I could record it and start it from the beginning. But with the Peacock app, it would only allow me to record 2 hours. Or not record 2 hours, but rewind 2 hours. So yeah, that's what I would do. Anyway.
Gotcha.
So are you gonna watch the women's race?
Yeah, I'll watch some of it. Sure.
I want to like see I want to watch some of it for sure. I want to see like where to watch it and what the big stages are and all the details.
It's only a week long, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Going back to Le Tour, do you guys have anything that kind of sticks out for you? Anything that...
Okay, I will say this. Watching Saturday's stage. So the Saturday was the last mountain stage. And I was just blown away by Thibaut Pinot was able to, he was in the break and then made an attack. So Thibaut Pinot was off the front on the second to last climb of the day.
Yep.
And Thibaut Pinot is from the region where the climb was. And he was climbing through that second climb. The crowds were 10 people deep.
Yeah.
They were 10 deep, all screaming for Pinot. It was
Chanting his name.
and chanting his name and all these signs. I'm surprised that when he went through, they didn't like clog and block the road so he could go on and win the race.
They should have done is taking turns giving him push up the hill so he could have kept that break.
He ended up getting caught, and I think he finished top 10. But it was emotional to watch him in his last tour ride through his home area.
Good finale.
And just with all these rabid fans yelling, that was
For
fantastic.
Sure. For sure. That was very cool to watch. And I think that gave him quite a bit of extra like oomph, a little bit of extra adrenaline. To,
I got an adrenaline rush just watching it.
Yeah, to hold that a little bit longer.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then watching Tade on that stage, he was, he kind of recovered and was able to go. It was watching that battle. I'm gonna have nightmares about Vingegaard looking over his shoulder.
Oh my gosh! What percentage of the tour did Vingegaard ride looking backwards?
Looking back,
like 75% of the tour.
75%. He's looking to see where Pogacar is.
I just think so hindsight's 20/20, but like I think of it that stage 20 that you're talking about. And I think, when Pogacar went, he put a surge in, he tried to break Jonas.
Yeah.
And he tried to break Jonas, and then like Jonas got on his wheel, no problem. It looks pretty good. And then I just think he should have gone over the top. Jonas should have gone for it because he wanted to win that stage. You could tell. He sprinted at the end. He wanted the stage.
He tried to jump him at the end, but
it's
Pogacar
too little too late.
Yes,
don't try to race Pogacar with 25 meters to go.
Right.
Like if he you wait for him to like throw a surge in, you match the surge, you wait for him to ease up just a bit, and then you go. I think Vingegaard could have won that stage.
But he didn't. But you're right, he did not. As soon as Pogacar sat up, he sat up too.
Then Gall caught them.
Yes.
Felix Gall caught the group, and then they just let Felix lead. Which, if you're Vingegaard, like you don't have anything to do. Like your only job is to respond to attacks. Yes, you got the jersey. Like don't let someone put 7 minutes on you and you're good. But I still think he wanted the stage, and if he wanted the stage, he should have like counter attacked
right away.
I think so.
Yeah,
that's my hot take. That I know we're not on the hot takes yet, but
do you guys think that Jonas got that much stronger this year, or do you think that it was Tade just not making smart decisions like Matt has alluded to the entire tour, like sprinting where he shouldn't be sprinting, or like...
Okay, so different lead up for both of them.
Yeah.
Jonas, he put his whole year around this race.
Sure.
He prepped for this race.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, right? Pogacar, not only did he get injured in Flèche Wallonne, or Liège, Bastogne-Liège,
he broke
all
his wrist. Of those.
He did all those other races, and he won 3 of the.
Yep. He was unstoppable.
Monuments.
Yeah,
he was
crushing,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So he was just racing his bike because he likes to race his bike, right? And so he just had a different set for it. I think their physiologies are pretty similar. I think Jonas had prepped a little better specifically for the tour than Pogacar did.
So do you put this on UAE for letting him do all of these races and not better managing him so that he can win the biggest race in the world?
I don't know.
Or maybe they had a priority of like, we want to win the monuments and we still think we can do the tour, but just,
maybe Tade told him like, hey, I'm going to go win everything, so just let me go race my bike when and where I want to. I mean,
right. Okay, but the big blow came at the time trial,
100%,
where I don't think even Jonas expected to ride as well as he rode.
Did, yeah.
I mean, he held 7.5 watts per kilo for 14 minutes.
Don't be suspicious.
14 minutes he held 7.5 watts per kilo. Shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
He was tested 4 times in 2 days.
Yes, yeah.
They all thought that's a little suspicious.
They were only testing him for dehydration. They weren't testing him for any drugs, though. So
perfect.
You're good there, buddy. You're good there.
So yeah. I mean, that's where like I mean, nobody really expected that, including himself. He like rode out of his mind. It might be the best time trial performance we've, ever seen.
Yeah.
Even better than
Pogačar beating
Roglič.
That was more magical because of the way it came down to like having the official victory for the Tour.
It was the day before.
It was a more magical moment in my spectator opinion. I do think that Vingegaard win in the time trial was weirdly fast. I wouldn't say that he's so much better this year than he was last year, because if you look at how he won last year, he dominated last year. He beat him soundly last year.
Yeah. He cracked him on that one day where he gained most.
And then he waited for him the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, to me, it was like, yeah, he's clearly the winner here.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't close.
I feel like he had more help last year, though, with
He had
Roglič being in
Roglič,
there
yeah,
and
I
being
agree.
able to do the rope-a-dope stuff.
And
that cracked him.
Pogačar's team was much better this year.
Yeah.
Yes, they were.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
they were better. They were able to support
Yates
him easier.
and Raphael and
And
Mike,
honestly, Vingegaard's team was worse than they were last year, because I mean, Sepp Kuss is a stud. We all love him, but he had some crashes. He had some stuff. Like he was pretty beat up at the end of that tour. He had like a bloody eye on the second to last day. Like he really was.
crashed hard that
He
day.
helped.
Rodriguez, yeah.
It's not like he didn't help throughout the tour.
He was actually named the super domestique of the tour.
And all of the pundits will gladly refer to him as one of the best super domestiques of all time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was beating the GC favorites as a super domestique.
Yeah.
And then when he peels off, he was still beating them.
Does that make you think that he should be a GC rider?
He
at some
mentioned
point?
something in somewhere within the past 3 weeks. He interviewed somewhere, and they're like, "Hey, when are you gonna do GC?" And he's like, "I'd be interested in that."
Oh, he did, huh?
Yes,
He did, but
I don't remember where that was.
He also re-upped his contract with Jumbo Visma, and they made it clear to him that his role was as a super domestique, and he was happy for that. There's a little less pressure.
Yeah.
There's a little more predictability. You don't have to do these podium things after every stage.
Right.
He still is paid very well to be a super domestique, and he gets to race his bike, and he gets to be part of
winning
history
team.
and the winning team.
Yep.
But would he like to be at a race at some point where he was the one set? Possibly.
and he's earned it. I mean, so here's the thing.
Yeah,
You've
but
got-
he can't time trial.
I think I don't think he's not the same. He's not at that caliber. As the guys that we're
can't
talking about
time trial
here. So you got
as well.
you got Roglič on the team.
Yeah.
You got Vingegaard.
Yeah.
Vingegaard's going to keep doing the tour.
Yeah.
Roglič is going to pick one of the other ones to win. But there's three. There's three
you
Grand
have
Tours.
Yeah.
You got Wout. They could probably win one. But no, I mean, like, seriously, like
Yeah.
Sepp Kuss could pick whichever one Roglič doesn't pick, basically, if they wanted to try it. If they wanted to give it a go.
I saw an article yesterday. I only had a second when I was doing this. I was doing too many things, but I just read the caption in like the first paragraph. Vingegaard's going to
He's going to the Vuelta.
Vuelta.
Yes.
And they're gonna
so is Roglič.
and
So
they're going to have a
Roglič-
two-headed monster attack there.
Correct. They are. And actually, Sepp Kuss is on the start list at the moment.
That guy needs a break, man.
He's done both.
Yep.
He helped Roglič win
Yep.
the Giro.
Yep.
He helped Vingegaard win the Tour, and he's on the schedule to do the Vuelta
So he's
as
finished.
well.
He's finished 2 Grand Tours.
He has.
I wonder how many people finish 3 Grand Tours in a year.
There's
Chris
not
Froome?
very many.
It's
But
got to be rare.
Froome did it.
I think Froome did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that could change. I mean,
Yep, it can.
he split his face open.
He looked pretty beat
He's
up.
pretty beat up. He said
But
that he would go, but yeah.
he can also recover by that time frame. I mean, how many weeks is it?
You got a
So, like,
month. You got
yeah.
4 weeks or something like
He
that.
can. His face will heal.
Yeah.
Or I hope.
Yeah. So something could happen there. So yeah. So and it's interesting, where it'll go or what it'll do, but and will Jumbo would love to win all 3 Grand Tours in the same year. I mean,
Ooh.
that'd be
big.
amazing.
So that makes a lot of sense for them to throw the kitchen sink at this last World Tour or
Yes.
this last Grand Tour
Grand Tour.
to do that.
I hope Vingegaard rides in support of
Roglič.
I would love to see that until Roglič crashes like he
Or something
sometimes
happens and they
does.
crack. They save 2 guys unless something happens to either one of them. That would be pretty
Or
cool.
you got Vingegaard and you got Roglič supporting Sepp.
That would be
like a
that'd be
big
something.
shock, but yeah, no, that would never happen. But
Yeah,
it'd
the
be fun
problem
to
is
watch.
the time trial. Sep is just not as fast as the time trial is either one of those guys.
But he's not as fast as those guys. But he didn't lose that much time. Like
Yeah.
he was in the top 10 until the last day.
He only lost it because of the crash.
Now, here's another question for you, though. I mean, has he given it an honest go? I mean, is he?
No, he knows what his role is. His
I know.
role at
So
this moment-
he's not
Yeah.
necessarily like going all out on these time trials. So do we not know what he's truly
That's a good
capable
point.
of? I mean,
Maybe. That's a
good
why
point.
would he turn himself inside out when he's got to go do super domestique stuff like the next day or within the next few days?
Because in the back of his mind, he has to be thinking like, I'm ranked 9th overall. Like I promise you that he finished up some of those stages because he could have gone full wout mode and gone like to leading, to being super domestique to almost come to a stop. He could have done that, and he didn't. He always finished up.
Right.
So I think he, in the back of his mind, he's like, I'm in 9th overall. If something happens to my GC, I'm the next guy in line. Like,
okay,
he
and
needs to have.
In that same respect, then he shouldn't be taking this whole "I only want to be a super domestique for the rest of my life." If he really cares about his overall GC standings, it's more than just the team. It's got to be a little bit of him. Like, can I do this?
Right.
Can I, can I be a GC guy? Can I go out there and win one of these?
I think
things?
he's thinking about it. It doesn't look like there's anything finalized. It might be a couple years, but there was some article over the past couple weeks where he actually is quoted as saying like, I'd like to give it a try.
Yeah, it would be rough, at least for me. Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different mindset. Everybody's got different goals. But it would be really rough for me to know that I am that good and I'm
And not
labeled
to
as one of the
see-
super domestiques of all time and go through my entire career and just be that guy
And not see
never
where the-
like try myself and see how I could do.
Yep.
It was a Velo News article
Okay.
6 days ago where
Yeah.
they asked him, and he said, "I'd love an opportunity to race a Grand Tour GC."
Yeah.
That's what
That's
his-
a headline,
Yeah.
quote.
Does
for
it?
sure.
How old is he again? He's like 28, 29?
27 or something like that. Or 28, yeah.
Okay. How long is this contract with Jumbo? And do you think Jumbo would give him an opportunity to try and win a GC?
I don't know.
I mean, with the likes of Roglic and Vingegaard on
think
your team, probably
if they're both
not
injured,
anytime
sure.
soon.
I think Yumbos will try to look for an opportunity to give him a chance.
Or somebody like Ineos that needs a good GC guy who could swoop
Yeah,
in and
for
pay him
sure.
handsomely. And then there's a
Yeah.
few other teams out there too that could potentially step up and say, "Hey, come ride with us."
I would love to have Sepkus be like a superstar. It pains me to say this. I don't think he's as good as, Remco. I don't think he's as good. Like if you're Ineos and you're gonna throw money at someone, I don't think it's Sepkus. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
not that I don't want that to happen because I would absolutely go crazy.
I don't think Remco's going to be going anywhere. I think that he's going to stay with Quick-Step for the foreseeable future. Was it Lefevre or Lefevre or whatever
Lefevre, yeah.
his name is, loves him, and he thinks that that's his next big hope. So I don't see him unless he really falters in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't think he's going anywhere. So,
but money talks. And Ineos has money.
This is true, and there are plenty of other teams out there that are starting to look like they've got some shape about them, like a Bahrain team. I mean, they've got some riders out there that are doing fantastic. Bora, they look. I mean, they've got Jai Hindley, but they've got some capacity to throw some money at some people. So there's a few other teams out there that look pretty good that could potentially entertain the thought of bringing somebody on, or Jumbo could just say, "Hey, your turn. You're up."
Go for
I
it.
mean, because Roglic is, for all intents and purposes, kind of getting into the twilight years of his race career.
He's young.
He's 30-something.
He's like 34, 35, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he was younger than that. I was thinking maybe it's like
he's
32.
a little bit. Yeah, he's a little bit older than you think he is. Lance can look that up real quick, but
because he had a full ski career before.
Exactly.
Yeah, downhill skiing.
So, and he seems to always be playing
33.
correctly. 33. So he'll be 34 next year. That's getting up there. He's not too much younger than G.
He'll be 34 in October of this year.
Okay.
I think G is significantly older. Isn't he like 39 or something?
No.
He's 38, I think.
He's not that much older.
Oh, really? Okay. For some reason, I was thinking he was like quite old.
He's 37.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
he's older, yeah.
So, are you guys pleased with how everything wrapped up? You guys like the final results? Was that a fun tour for you to watch?
Yeah,
it was.
fun.
It was fun. It was exciting. It was every morning there was some drama happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was one of the better ones. I honestly think that it was up there in probably like the top 5. I wouldn't say it was like the best one, but it was super fun to watch all the way up, and even like after the time trial, even though that Jonas put a bunch of time into Tade, you still kind of had this thought in the back of your head before the next stage that he was somehow, some way going to chip his way back, or he was going to have a big stage win, and then Jonas was maybe going to crack a little bit. That never came to fruition.
Okay, so if we're ranking tours, I would say this was an awesome one. I really enjoyed watching it. I don't think it's like a top 5 tour because here's the thing. I know that people are saying, well, it was close for a very long time.
10 seconds?
It was
10 seconds difference
it was
for
very
almost
close
15
for a
stages?
long time.
16 stages?
But when we were here, I think on our last podcast or whatever, like all of us were like, well, that's over.
Yeah.
And it was still whatever. We had like 4 more days of tours. It just felt very over at that point.
Yeah, there was still a lot of stuff that needed to shake out, but we were correct too in saying that after stage 17, it was done. That the tour had been decided, and it was just a matter of like, well, can Pogacar hold on to a podium spot?
Right.
You know, what's going to happen with the Yates brothers? You know, like who's going to get what, where, when, why, and how for the rest of stuff, and that.
But nothing really happened.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, at the end there.
Yeah, there was some good stages to watch, but overall GC was like that was kind of done. So it's a lot better than, I don't know, the years of Sky when they were super dominant and they're like they take
the lead in the second week and it's over.
Yeah, not even the second week. It's just like stage 5 happens and all of a sudden Froome's like, you know, minutes up and like, yep, the tour just ended today.
And the way that used to work was like we don't like they might even get the yellow in the first week and they'd kind of like dump it on someone and then they'd like we want to get it.
Yeah.
This is the time we want to get it, and then they'd get it like they want to, and then they would just be like it'd be over.
Yeah,
I agree that those were, and I liked watching those too.
Still exciting. Yeah,
but yeah, I think that this one was. I love Vingegaard and Pogacar. I like both of the athletes, so I'm happy when either of them do well. And so I love watching these races.
Yeah, the last 4 years have been fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that like this generation of riders, you've got 2 years of Pogacar winning and 2 years of Vingegaard watching. Those were 4 of like some of the greatest tours to watch, in my opinion.
They're fun.
And what will happen next year if Remco's there too? You know,
just makes it even that much more dynamic.
Yeah, it does.
And there's some other names that started to float to the top of like these guys might have some potential. Like Rodriguez from Ineos. I mean, I keep saying that they were a disappointment.
22. He's 22. He's young.
He's got stuff to learn, and he's going to get stronger, and he's going to be a good, solid competitor.
I think that Ineos is kind of. That's their dude, maybe.
Did you see why he lost his third place overall? Did you see the crash?
With
the crash with Seb?
No, with Rodriguez. It was Rodriguez.
Oh, when
who
he just
went
washed
down.
out, yeah.
No, his rear wheel like folded, like a spoke broke. Something happened with his wheel, and his bike broke. And he went down immediately, and Sepp just went right over the top.
Okay, that was the Sepp
So
crash.
yeah.
There was another time
Rodriguez.
though that he washed out going through like a switchback. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he just lost his wheel and just went
that was
right down.
before. So this crash was on stage 20. The one where he washed out was before that.
It was pretty close. Yeah.
Were they?
It was like 17 or 18 or 19, something like that. So he had a couple crashes, but you know, some bad luck. Otherwise, he probably would have been standing on the podium.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Adam was
a lot
hard
of
to
minutes,
beat.
a lot of minutes back. But I think at one point in time, he was ahead of Adam Yates.
Yes.
So
He was only 2 minutes back.
Right.
Felix Gall looked good.
Yes.
He did look good.
Good. I mean, Jai Hindley looked good for the first 8 or 10 days, and then he kind of faded. But he's going to probably get a little bit stronger.
Yep,
So
I
that
think
was
so.
interesting to watch. There was who else looked good? Anybody else that kind of caught your guys' attention? Rider-wise?
Godu was decent. He made the top 10, but he kind of cracked on a couple days.
Pretty Frenchy.
Yeah.
But he's still young and he's got some hope. I mean, we'll just say he's the next French hope to
we should
falter.
give a nod to Evan for the Yates brothers doing so well in this tour.
I kind of expected Simon. I mean, that's their GC guy, and he's strong and
He's strong, but he ended up 4th or 5th.
Simon was 4th.
4th. I mean, that's not just strong. That's pretty.
12:23 back, and Adam was 3rd at 10:56 back.
That's not bad.
Did you see the clip
Not bad.
of them on the second to last
where
day?
they look like they were mirror
They
images.
were just mirroring
Yeah, I
each
saw
other
that.
while they were both out of the saddle climbing up a hill. They looked like twins. It was like fantastic.
Yes.
And they are, yeah.
They are twins. That's
So-
pretty cool.
Yep, and we've talked about this a few times. How about some disappointments? I mean, I know that I've talked about Ineos, but aside from
Pidcock.
Pitcock
Okay.
was
Did you see what he said?
yeah, he felt like an impersonator or an imposter.
Imposter. He
Yeah.
goes, I felt like a GC imposter. Like, wow, I can't do this.
This is my hot take. It's early. Another hot take that's too early. The cyclocross trio that we have come to love had a blunder of a tour. Hot take. Hot take.
That's a good hot take.
That is a hot take. Okay, Wout, bridesmaid, how many times? He was second like 4 times, so he never pulled one
Went
off.
home devastated with a new baby.
Dude, did he not time that perfectly too?
Yeah.
He went home and like 6 hours later, baby.
Bam.
Now, I'm going to disagree on one bit of that.
Okay.
Matthew Van Der Poel did not go there with any aspirations other than to be the lead out guy for Jasper Philipsen, and mission accomplished with the exception of the Champs where he lost by an inch or two. I think that he did a fantastic job. I don't know if they had it in their back pocket on their agenda of things to accomplish that he's going to try and win a stage, but I never saw him attempt to try and go win a stage. I saw him go there and strictly support Jasper Philipsen.
So do you think, okay, so today's Monday, it's the day after the tour. Do you think he's sitting wherever he's sitting and he's like, that was a great tour for me?
I think that it was mission accomplished. I don't.
Maybe.
That was all that team was there for, was to win stages.
He never went for a stage himself, did he?
He was in some breakaways.
He was in a couple breakaways.
But I just thought that he would snag a couple stages. I feel like him and Wout were probably like, yeah, I'll pick up a couple of stages.
I'll get a stage or two.
Yep.
Mr. Evan Price is trying to call in.
I think that he may have went up the road for a couple of reasons. One was maybe to take away points from other people, maybe getting some green intermediate points just to make sure that Bennett didn't get to lose stuff.
No, not Bennett. He wasn't even.
He wasn't
even at the tour this year.
Yeah, he was subpar. I'm sorry for Jasper. And the other thing was just to be a satellite rider up the road in case, I don't know, for whatever reason, they were going to break away their sprinter and get him up the road. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But I don't think that he ever truly was trying to win a stage. I don't. Yeah. So what you got going on there, Matt? Is Evan coming by? Is he?
He's going to roll on in. He just wants to gloat.
I don't know. Can you gloat when you got one of your picks, right?
Okay, let's go to our picks. Well, we can wait till Evan gets here.
We'll wait till Evan gets here so we can bash him for it.
But I think my picks were pretty okay. I mean, they're not unbelievable or anything, but I think I nailed it.
A few moments later.
Evan Price.
Sounds like a SpongeBob thing, isn't it?
A little bit.
SpongeBob. That's very much SpongeBob.
Yeah. Years later.
Later.
I was here the whole time. I was just sitting very quietly.
So Price is here. So now should we talk about our picks that we talked about on our podcast picks?
Our preview.
We can ignore
podiums.
We can ignore the fantasy stuff.
Oh, we are not going to ignore the fantasy stuff.
We will ignore the fantasy stuff
We
because
totally
I didn't adjust the team enough.
You never adjusted the team.
Was I last?
I think so.
Yes. Let me make that very clear. Evan, you were dead last.
This is what happened to me. This is why I don't do fantasy football anymore, as I'm all amped in the beginning. I have a good draft, 2-3 weeks in, doing solid. Forget to change the team. Team tanks.
Oops. Yeah.
I think we even had the likes of Alan Plank who joined.
He's always
3 or 4
3
stages
days later.
in.
He still beat you. Yeah.
The Fabio Jakobsen pickup was a bad pickup early on, and then he just didn't even finish the tour. So.
All right, so let's go back and review our picks.
Okay. Podcast picks.
Lance and I, we picked the same. Because
Yes.
Lance cheated, and he looked at my notes, and that didn't work out so hot for him.
You guys,
Yeah, Jai looked great, guys.
Well, he did
did
for the first
fine.
8 or 10 days.
He did
Still-
He was 7th.
7th overall.
bad.
So
It's better than my third pick.
Lance
But-
and I both picked Toddy to win, Jonas in second, and we both picked Jai Henley to finish in third.
And so Vingegaard won. Pogacar was second. So
we just got that backward.
We got that backward. And
I think it's a
Henley ended
big
up
one to
7th.
get backwards.
It's the
though.
kind of the
Yeah.
thing, right? Those are the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I nailed that, right? I mean,
Well,
Wait,
Matt
Matt-
picked the first 2 dead on. He picked
Dead on.
Jonas and he picked
Matt
Toddy.
luckily listened to me a little bit more.
I did. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna copy someone,
How did Ben O'Connor finish up in respect
I
with
think-
respect
was
to
he
Jai
third?
Henley?
Did he
You
get third?
You should get docked points on how bad Ben O'Connor ended up doing at the end of the day. Granted, the guy was chasing stages very well, but he
was
was
seventh.
no.
Okay.
Don't
He
you
was
guys remember when he came into Felix Gall's interview and congratulated him? So he's kind of on the podium.
His team did very well.
His team did
great.
Team did
Felix
great.
had a wonderful race.
Ben
That's kinda
O'Connor was 17th. He was an hour and
not
4
bad.
minutes back.
That's
17th.
the last time Ben O'Connor gets to lead AG2R at the tour. And Felix
feel
Gall's
bad for
their
him
guy
because
now.
his contract is they're going to be second.
Felix
guessing
Gall, his teammate, was 8th, 16 minutes back.
Felix had a great tour.
And I believe was second in
And I assume
Crocodile.
O'Connor was their lead guy, and then they're like, I guess not, but I don't know. I don't regret that pick at all.
I thought
I
it was
also
good.
nailed the first 2. I pick Vingegaard over Pogacar, and I think there should be huge points for that. How many points do I get for that? What's our point system?
That's the most important pick.
You
It
get
really
bubbly
is with
water.
those
You
two.
get nothing.
Do I get a free bubbly water?
Free bubbly water.
All right, that's pretty big.
And rounding out the picks, Evan had Jonas winning. He took
Okay.
Simon Yates in second and David Gadu in third.
Not as close.
Yeah, okay.
Not as close on David.
Let's see. So Simon
Wrong
Yates
Yates.
ended up fourth. His
But
brother
he's-
beat him.
But his brother
Quit
and him,
making
it's
excuses,
basically
Evan.
the same guy. So that's on the
Yeah.
podium.
And
all that
David
good.
Gadu was ninth, 23 minutes
So I
back.
missed
Not
on
bad.
David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I won that, guys.
So
Actually,
what,
yeah, I do,
what
I do
happens?
think.
There-
well,
there's
but Matt
no,
was
there's
so
no
off on
winner.
the Ben
We're all
O'Connor
wrong.
pick.
There's no winner.
Actually,
no winner
Matt
here.
would be the winner because he got first and second.
Yeah, so I went
correct.
off
There-
the point
but there's no
system.
point
Yeah.
system. We didn't
Like
come
if
up with
we-
a point system.
I
And what do I win?
I like you
Bubbly
best,
water?
Matt.
Okay.
So you're the winner.
Thank you.
But I also think that I deserve some credit for calling the stage that
did.
Pogacar completely fell apart on.
Was it after
Called the stage,
you didn't call the time
called
trial.
that the
time
Yates-
trial. That was I don't know.
He did call
I-
the Yates brothers, and I
I
called
the
and
Yates,
I
yes.
said no freaking way. One of them's not going to end up in the top 10. I was wrong.
Both of them almost made the podium.
Both of them almost made the
It was,
podium.
they did well. It was
That-
a good. It was a
good
good
for
tour
them.
for the Yates.
It was
brothers.
great
Outside of
tour.
Vingegaard and Pogacar, they were the story of the tour. Is that they're
They're
next,
good.
They're the next tier down.
Story
from
of the
those two.
tour?
Or
Oh
maybe-
yeah, they're
I
the
don't
next
know
two
about that.
down.
Maybe Phillipson.
The twins in third and fourth. That's never. Can you name a sport that's ever happened? That
Maybe
twins.
Phillipson. Maybe Phillipson is the next big
Nah, 'cause
story
there's-
of the tour.
nah, there's always a sprinter that wins stages. It's
Not
a cooler
4
story
in
that
row.
twins.
He won 4 out of 5 sprint stages. That's pretty stinking good.
Yeah, but he lost the most
That's
important
pretty
one.
big.
Yeah, he did.
If
By
he
a
had, if he had
by, I
won,
mean,
by-
by like
2
by a
inches.
tire width.
if he had
by
won
a
in
guy that I'd
Paris,
forgotten about.
if he had won in Paris, that'd have been.
Then he's
that'd be huge.
Yeah.
He
Well,
missed it by a tire width.
we'll forget that Jasper won 4 in like 2-3 years. We'll forget that.
Yeah,
Because
they're
it wasn't 5. If it was 5, we'll
If it's
remember
5,
it.
it's
just
rare.
saying that like sprinters are kind of like, with the exception of Cavendish, sprinters are a lot like NFL running backs. They're fantastic for like 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
Shelf life,
and
and
then
it's over.
yeah, exactly. Then you forget about them.
Yep.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because go back. I mean, Kittle. You know, did Kittle win 4 in a tour?
Yeah,
he was close. I think.
Yeah,
I
with
think he won 4 in a
AG2R
tour.
back
yeah.
in what was that, like 2013
Yeah,
or
so it's
something
like
like
every
that.
5 or 6 years, you got that sprinter that's
Yeah.
going to go into a tour, win 4 stages.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what's your take on Cav then? What does he do? Does he stay retired, or does he come back to get that number 35?
He will come back.
Didn't we have this? We had this conversation on this podcast.
We're gonna have this
I know, but it
conversation every
keeps
week. I
changing.
think until-
Oh, has he said something? Has there been like an interview where he's like, "I'm coming back"?
He did go on. He came on Geraint Thomas's podcast. He was a special
That's
guest
actually
for
pretty
like
cool.
40 minutes. He came on for the whole show, and they asked him, and he didn't respond to it. He just didn't respond that he is gonna come back or not come back.
I would love
So-
to know what a personal conversation between him and G was, though, because I bet if he was going to tell anybody what he's going to do, it's going to
Yeah.
be G.
Yeah.
I mean, G would
Yeah.
be the guy who's
They're
going to
good.
tell.
Well, I think he's being cautious. Obviously, he's being cautious.
That's
Yeah, and on his
smart.
podcast, everybody
He
listens
probably
to
doesn't
podcasts.
know yet. He's still.
He probably doesn't know
he's
yet.
still under shock of all this stuff. And what did I think last podcast I was like,
Well,
he's
still got
gonna
his
he's
arm
gonna
in
go
a
for
sling,
it.
So yeah,
His collarbone surgery was a little more involved than
okay.
they thought. They actually had to bone graft it. They had to take a chunk out of his hip to bone graft in up there. So it changed. It was a little harder than they anticipated. It was also his first broken collarbone, which also blows me
Which is
away.
crazy.
Which is crazy.
yeah, because he also raced like track, and that's
Yes.
I mean, like that happens all the time. in
He
track.
separated his shoulder a few times, but he's never broken a collarbone.
Huh.
That's
With
because in
that many
track you
years?
crash so fast you can't get your arm
Maybe
out.
he's
in time.
got-
You just
you
nail
just-
your shoulder. It's like dislocate his shoulder.
Maybe he has good bone density. Most cyclists don't, but he could be one of those. Yeah.
That's a good point. He's not Vincenzo Nibali
Yeah.
fracturing his thoracic spine. So yeah,
I think he's going to jump back on the bike in like October, November, and say, you know what?
I'm gonna try.
I don't know.
I think he's
might
going to
wanna-
be part of a team's either coaching or he's going to be a director sportif. I think in 2 years, but he's not going to come back and race next year.
He could be commentary too. He could do
Yeah,
commentary.
I could see him doing commentary for a year, and then I think he'll get into a car.
He
He'll
could just
in
be
a car.
done too. He's made enough money. He's
He's
one
made
of
enough
those
money.
cyclists that don't have to do a job.
Now, if you're going to come back and be a commentator over like trying to race one more time, you're still away from your family. You're still working
You
quite
are.
a bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you
granted,
are.
it's not as big of an ask because you're not going to be doing all the training, but you're still working quite a bit.
That's
And you're away
like-
from the family. And that's the reason why he says he's hanging it up.
Well,
Five
everybody
kids.
thought that Wiggo was going to be completely out of the public eye when he was done, and Wiggins has been on GCN. He's been commentating
Yeah, but that
randomly.
stuff's not that well.
But
if
not
he's-
this year. Did nothing this year.
You're right.
And
That was
if
more
you're-
last
No
year.
Wiggo.
He did a bunch
And if
of
you
stuff.
go
Yeah.
do a couple things,
Yeah.
I think it's easier like to be on a podcast or do some things like that versus like, oh, if you're a commentator for a full 3 weeks, you're gone. You are gone
Yeah,
for that
the whole
bucket.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I
with
don't know.
no downtime at all.
Those are long days
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you see Thomas Vogler? You remember Thomas Vogler,
Yes.
the French guy? He was the person on the
the
motorcycle
motorcycle.
that
I
stalled
can't
out.
believe that they fined him because
He
it
got
wasn't
way.
his fault. Apparently,
It wasn't, but
like
he got fined. But
Wow.
how do you collect a fine from Thomas Vogler? He's not even in the UCI anymore. But they fined him. I thought that was hilarious.
Also, they just know how much money Thomas Vogler because they probably looked at everybody else like, oh, well, who can we find here that we know is not going to like make a stink about this? Thomas Vogler.
Well, was it his media company that he was on the motorcycle
Yes.
filming? So if it's his
That's a good
media
question.
company and it was his driver, his
guess they could
pilot,
fine
his
him.
motorcycle,
Yeah.
then yeah, he's going to get fined for that.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
idiot.
At the end of the day, when you
crashes
count it
on
out,
a crazy corner, they should fine Thomas Vogler for that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
but it's also like
Mav-
that was like 12
Cavendish
seconds.
gets knocked out of the tour. They should fine Thomas
Vogler.
Vogler for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
A bee stings your hand.
Bee stings your
Fine,
hand.
Vogler.
The entire Cofidis team got sick. Fine, Thomas Vogler.
Cofidis had a good start to the tour.
And a terrible end. I mean, that whole team got sick.
Didn't they end up with only like
But yeah,
4
they
people
won
finishing
2
or something?
stages, which was awesome. I mean, Cofidis
That's
hasn't-
huge for
What
them.
was the last year they won a
2008.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
forever ago. I mean, that's
Going back to Vogler real quick. Remember when he used to race? He was like, he was so hard to watch. Like
I
the way
did
that his
not-
breathing
yeah.
habits, his facial expressions, is like, get him off the TV. This is making
He
me
was
like
the most
sick.
French cyclist in the
Yeah.
history of
Yeah.
France.
It's like
Yeah,
it's
he was-
over animated and
Yeah.
over.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad that you guys are on the same page with me on that. I did not like watching him race.
No.
He's also kind of yoked now. He's
He
not.
is?
Oh, really?
Yes.
What?
No,
He's
he did
like-
not.
Yeah.
He didn't go the usual path of the former pro cyclist who sits in cars where they just get really large. He got muscular. Like he put
Stayed
some
on the
weight
sauce, but just used it a little bit differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like hit the
It's like
gym.
good for
Yeah.
him, man. Yeah, that's what every. I mean, honestly, for your health, that's what every pro cyclist should do when they're done with their careers.
Well,
And
it
live
depends
their
on
life.
what drugs he's taking.
That's true. I mean, he was like right in the heart of that
Yeah.
very advanced
Bought like a
doping.
case of
times.
testosterone, still had a
Yeah.
whole bunch left over. He's
like-
like, yeah, might as well go get beefed up, man.
Right.
Beefcake. He's like, oh, these steroids used to be for saddle
Have
sores.
you,
Now I'm gonna
seen,
use
have you
them.
seen Ryan Hall?
Yeah, Ryan Hall's a great example.
So Ryan
of that.
Hall
Yeah.
was a great runner. He's like my age
The
or
best
whatever.
marathon
So
runner in American
fantastic
history.
marathoner.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Excellent runner.
Yeah.
And he basically, it's interesting because he really had to retire because he couldn't keep his testosterone levels
Yeah,
high.
he was having a lot of
He was having
issues.
a lot of problems with that. And I think, and part of me is like, good on you, buddy. Like he's not
Very
going to
good on
cheat. He's just like, I'm just going to retire and be done. He had the American record in the half marathon.
He was the
He
only
may still
American to
have
go
it.
under an hour at that time.
He may still have it. I don't know. But then
Pre-carbon shoe era too. That's a
Pre-carbon shoe.
sub-hour half marathon pre-carbon shoe.
and
Yeah.
he just got thick, just like hits the weights
Strong,
all the
dude.
time. He's
He
huge.
like doubled in size. Like
Yeah,
his
at
upper
least.
torso is.
he
he's massive.
looks
He's
and is
ripped.
a bodybuilder now.
Yes.
He looks like a bodybuilder.
and I think he
Good
does.
for him.
I think he has a podcast as
He
well.
does.
His wife still races.
Yes.
Sarah
He still
Hall.
coaches Sarah,
He still
I believe.
coaches.
And she's a superstar.
She
And
is.
they have some like African
Yep.
foster children
exactly.
that they also coach.
for women.
And they live in Flagstaff. I follow him on Instagram too.
Do you?
I'm a fan
Okay.
of Brian Hall.
Yeah.
He's a fun Instagram follow.
yeah.
I like
Yeah,
him
yeah.
a lot. Yeah. He's
yeah,
a great
he seems
guy
good.
for the
He
running
seems solid,
sport.
but I'm sure that his testosterone levels are quite fine now. I would
Yeah.
think.
Probably.
I'm sure he's doing okay
Yeah.
in that department because
I actually think knowing him too, I bet he did it all clean.
I bet he did.
I bet he
it
did.
seems like he would probably. I don't know. Who knows? It's hard to say. But then, like when he retired, he's like, I got to take some testosterone because this is not like
Yeah.
normal. I mean, you're running that much and you're that skinny and you're tiny. I mean, he's just next to nothing. I'm sure testosterone
He was
is
a
hard.
huge volume trainer too.
So
I mean, he
his-
was a big time volume trainer.
His testosterone levels were too low.
Right. They're
And
very
he,
low.
and he couldn't get them up naturally, which is why he finally said, I can't do this anymore.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that's the
Well, that's why
official
he-
reason that he retired, but he was making it clear that he was having a hard time with his testosterone levels, and that was like public knowledge. And then he retired shortly thereafter.
And started pumping
So,
weight.
and then and I also
Yeah, I think he
it's
was
hard to
like,
put that much muscle.
wasn't he
on.
trying to do like a like a 500-pound deadlift
and a sub 5 minute mile.
And a sub 5 minute mile.
He failed miserably at that, actually. I saw that. Yeah. I'm not sure if he's tried it again, though, since that video I saw a while ago.
He's like one of the few people that can make that actually happen.
Yeah.
That would be so because the amount of effort a 500-pound deadlift takes is serious. I could not imagine them with how your hamstrings feel after that moment being like, all right, let's break into my mile stride right after that. I mean, if you wanted to cook up a perfect recipe to injure your hamstring, it would be let's do a max deadlift and then sprint mile. But
now a sub 5 for him is probably difficult. At the time, back in the day, that was just such a walk in the park. Because he was also
marathon
if you when he was in college, he's one of the few people that he was like a miler. He had a lot of speed in high school and then in college, and then as he got out of college, he was like and marathon. So it's pretty big range. So he had some foot speed.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, get us back on track here.
This is supposed to be cycling.
We're talking Ryan Hall.
Lance, do you want to talk about the fantasy standings?
Yes, I do.
Let's bust that out.
I think I did pretty well this year. Let's check. Wait.
We should just talk about the Yates. We should just talk about how both of them did so good and how Evan called it, and how next year there's no more making fun of him because
Evan,
he was right on everything.
You have this allotted amount of budget that you're supposed to trade out your team.
Yeah.
And it's like if someone crashes or whatever, you can trade off that person.
Well, I was hoping they'd come back.
Yeah, that's true. Possible. So
don't let him come back, right? He's missed the last 3 stages. He'll be back.
I was on vacation the first week, and I just got destroyed in the fantasy thing.
I didn't do too bad in the first couple days. I was still respectable the first couple days.
I really messed up.
It went downhill really quickly.
Yeah.
Evan, you're dead last.
Bob Youngles was getting bottles most of the tour. Don't know why I picked. Yeah, I'm not even sure if he got in a breakaway. Bob Youngles was not even. No, I always try to pick a guy that I think is going to be frequent in the breakaways.
That would be someone that I would think too.
I should have picked Mohoric. That would have been a great pick.
Yep.
Should have picked up Mate.
But you could trade off these people when you realize.
Yeah, I should have dropped Bob as soon as I knew that he was just grabbing bottles.
I had MVP for so long, and I was like,
he's not even.
He's not even here to try. He's just
he's a lead out.
I finally dropped him, but
yeah.
I think I was in first place for the first 4 or 5 stages, and then Gary Cornelius came in and pipped me, and we might have gone back and forth one other time, but then I was chasing him for the rest of the tour, and it was funny because we were able to make some roster moves, we'll say, and you had a certain budget of how many times you could do that. So basically, every time you drop somebody, they charged you 50 points.
You could make 8 roster moves.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that wasn't 50 points from your points that you have for your overall total.
I thought it was
they just give you this an allotment of 50 points or 400 points that you could use. So you can make all those drops. You could drop 8 people, but they didn't charge you to put somebody back on the team. So I'm watching Gary and I'm seeing what he's got going on. I'm like, all right, in order to try and catch up to him or effectively beat him, I need to pick up a person that he doesn't have that's going to work well based on the couple stages coming up, and got to use these points wisely. Mm-hmm. And I would make the moves, and then the next morning, because you can't see what other people are doing until they start the stage, then they'll open up everybody's rosters. I would go and look, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So many times he would go and pick up the exact same person. I'm like, he doesn't know that I'm picking him up. We're just thinking the same way. And I just couldn't ever get the points necessary. And so the last 3 or 4 stages, I kind of rolled the dice and did a few things differently. It worked out for me all right, but I would pick a stage winner because you get bonus points for each one of that. And I would just miss. There was 3 of the last 4 stages. I just missed having the right stage points. Yeah. And if just 2 of those had happened, I would have beat him. Yeah. But it just never happened. It was one of those things where I put the stage winner and that person would come in second or third. And
this is 2 years in a row because last year I led for I think 20 stages.
Yeah.
And then he beat me on the last stage or something like that.
Yep.
And ended up winning. So this is 2 years in a row that
Gary
he's won the fantasy thing.
So he was first. Second place was.
I wonder if it's 3 years.
Mr. Jake Von During. So he was roughly 400 points back.
And you were
Gary.
third?
I was third. I was a full 1,000 points behind Gary.
I think I was 15th or something.
This very much reflected the tour. This was 1 and 2 were the only 2 that mattered.
So I finished with 15,220 points. Gary had 15,616 points, and Lance was in third place with 14,503 points. So it was moderately close between the 3 of us up there.
Not bad.
Mike Reddick, 4th. Nathan Skanky, 5th.
Yep.
Who's Droff Dar? I don't know who that is.
I don't know who it is either.
I don't know who number 6 is.
Is that Carlos?
Carlos was 7th.
Yeah, this is Carlos.
Nate Scott was 8th. Oski Waski was 9th. Don't know who that is.
That's Oscar. It's one of our juniors.
Oscar. Okay. Alan Plank came up to 10th.
Nice job playing.
Tim Niles 11th. Chris Reel 12th. Matt LeGrand, number 13.
Lucky number
Oh,
13.
you beat me, Matt. Dang it.
Scooter was number 14th, who is Scott Troutman.
I had to change some people to actually beat you. I had to switch
And then
things
in
around.
dead last, a full 7,000 points behind the winner, Mr. Evan Price.
Oh boy. Well, you know, I
8,000 points.
I really am more of a stage hunter in our Tour de France now, where I like
You didn't win any
predicting
stages either,
things that are
Evan.
going to happen, and I'm just so happy I predicted those things. But really, the whole grand picture, I just kind of soft pedal a lot of the route. I'm like Lefay on Cofidis when he won the stage, and they're like, "This is going to go for the GC," and they're like, "Oh God, no, he's just a day-to-day guy." Like this. He'll probably soft pedal the rest of the tour.
That was a lot of fun, and
It
I
did
know
make
that
it fun to
Evan
watch.
disconnected from it a little bit, but it was fun
I'm
to
going to
watch
fully
Matt.
commit next year, but I've done this with fantasy football for years, so I don't like my odds.
Matt did a great job of making the right moves just so he could say that he beat you, and,
Yes.
and Lance was into it every day, and everybody had a fun time, and it was a blast. And I really think that next year we should really do a good job of pushing this out there to even more people. And
I know
so
more
too.
juniors that'll want to do it. I know Oscar just did it this year, but I know Natalie and Julia, and they all watched the tour too this year, and we're really talking about it.
There
Which was
were
awesome to see kids talking about
A
it.
few people who told me they're like, I thought about doing it, but then I was nervous because I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm like, it's so easy and it's
Yeah,
just
like
fun.
Evan's in dead last place. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, this.
So
Evan thinks he knows what he's talking about. He's
Yeah,
still was dead last. So
exactly.
anybody can play.
Yeah.
Anybody can play.
This was always our joke with fantasy football. We're like, the guy who thinks he knows the most will guarantee be dead last.
So we'll see how many people we can get to join us next year. That'd be a lot of fun. Let's go back to the tour real quick. We kind of gave our 2 cents, our wrap, our summary, and all that other fun stuff. Evan, did you have any big takeaways on this? Any hot takes from the tour?
Actually, I mean, really, this was the most fun I've had overanalyzing and watching a tour. Me and Cassie had so much fun just watching this tour.
Sure.
This was the best tour I can remember enjoyment-wise since honestly the year Vincenzo Nibali won, only because that was a very exciting GC
that like 2014?
tour. Yeah, but, 2013 or 14. Yeah, somewhere right around
Yeah.
there. So this to me was a awesome tour where down the line you just got, I mean, you had the Pogacar and Vinga go back and forth, but the battle for third was wildly fun to watch. And just the battle for the top 10 was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, just there were stages that like a moving day stage where the breakaway is only given a minute
That's
and
true.
a half, and they stay.
There's been
Victor Camping. We found that
It was
Casper,
basically like mistakes by the sprint teams.
Exactly.
There were 2 of
And-
them.
That
in
was
a row.
awesome.
in
The
their
Casper
defense.
Asgreen.
In their defense, Casper Asgreen and Victor Campagnards are absolute machines.
Yeah.
Like though, I would love to see the power profile of Victor Campagnards on that stage because that man. I mean, there might not be anybody stronger in a breakaway in the tour in recent memory than that guy.
He completely sacrificed himself for his teammate. And
To get second.
And it didn't work. But it
Looking
was,
back, do you think Victor in his head's like, screw this guy, kid?
it
I
was
should have for
beautiful
sure done
that
it myself.
it was so beautiful.
He drops
that
back to
he
the
just
peloton
did
to
it.
grab a teammate to bring him up to the breakaway,
Love
and
it.
then sits on the front of the breakaway and stays away.
It was
So
amazing.
There were stages that normally we'd be like, all right, here we go. Here's Jasper's stage. Everybody fall asleep for a while. And there's so many strong riders now that just they make the tour wildly exciting, and it was awesome. My biggest takeaway is that I'm going back to my childhood enjoyment of cycling right now. And that means I am blocking out and completely ignoring and hate the talk of as soon as Vingegaard goes out there. And in my opinion, a story that should be celebrated, a guy that came from lower middle class means, worked manual labor jobs, somebody that is a old school tour winner in that sense. I mean, I know I talk about how I read a lot of historical books on this, but really he is from that era. I mean, he is quiet, very humble, not going to make a show of anything, and he wins the tour. He's that lower middle class guy. That's the guy that should be celebrated. And what are we all talking about again? On Phil Guyman's YouTube, on comments throughout everything is, what juice are they on? And I'm going back to my childhood enjoying of this.
They take drugs. That's what people want to hear and talk about.
Also, who can just enjoy the tour for God's sake? It's like, are we going to do this? Like, really, the question comes down to: are we going to do this every single tour?
Yeah,
Every time there is a superhuman effort, we will do it.
So
we have been trained
it's
by
human
all the
nature.
drug cheats.
Correct.
But there is definitely needs to be an argument for listening to the guys who came from the cheating, the really high density cheating area, where EPO just wild west, saying they believe that the peloton.
I
is
agree
clean
with that.
now.
They know better.
We
than,
don't listen to those guys.
than us.
We love to listen to and this is not me talking trash about Phil Guyman, but I'm going to talk trash about Phil Guyman because he doesn't know me and I don't care. not the guys that really have disconnected themselves from that world and just want to toss a bunch of dirt at it. But he has not. He says he's not even doesn't even know or keep in contact with people in the Peloton anymore.
Yeah,
guys who have just been through this era. Not that anybody should always believe him, but I mean Thomas Decker, for instance. Wildly dirty guy. Wrote a great selling book, though, and he said, this new generation is not my generation. The difference is you can't just compare raw performances. One of my best examples me and Cassie were talking about is watch what Vingegaard did with his champagne on Champs-Elysees stage. Did you guys see that?
He took a sip and then he dumped it out.
Yep.
You know what Lance Armstrong did with his champagne?
Chugged it, that's another one.
Three
Yeah.
glasses, and then got hammered that night. So... Now, nobody wants to believe Lance, but Lance will talk about this. He actually believes they are just doing things differently than they did in the 90s. Does that not mean that they're walking gray lines?
Clean. It's so fun to believe that they might
I
be clean.
believe a good portion of this generation's clean.
Is
everybody clean? No, because that's completely ridiculous to think that in any sport everybody's clean.
I think that they might be clean in the ways that we're saying that they are not taking anything that is officially banned.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing like blood bags at night. I don't think that they're
They might
doing.
be.
I don't think they're
doing,
openly taking EP. I think
they
it's
might
not
be
as,
also. I think it's possible that they're just taking your standard stuff that's not going to register on any drug tests.
I think what we're underestimating is the amount that they invest in research and physiology of how each individual responds to training. If you really read a lot of these old documentaries and everything, how they used to train and do nutrition for these guys, it was amazing they went as fast as they did. And the reason they went as fast as they did is because they were on stimulants and EPO.
Yeah.
So they could sleep 2-3 hours on crap beds.
Yeah.
And just hopped up on stimulants and everything like that, and make it through in these human efforts.
But now the training is more scientific.
Yes, the recovery is the biggest change from
and
the 90s.
The amount of carbohydrates they take in during the race, that makes a difference as well. They didn't realize how much of a difference fueling properly during the stage
Lance was
would
telling
make.
a story about that where he was like, you want to know why Ulrich used to always like die at these points, these really crucial parts? He's like, Ulrich would forget to eat. He's like, Ulrich will get to the end, and he's like, Lance is like, I've been riding next to him the whole time. He hasn't reached for a single gel or bottle this entire time. Now, if you told me go into a half Ironman and just don't eat, I'm going to perform wildly terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you then put somebody next to me who's fueling correctly, we could be the same exact talent level. He's going to perform to the point where people are like, oh, he's got to be doping because he's doing so much better than him. No,
well,
he was just, he slept better last night. He recovered all better all year.
And
His
it's
training was more
and it's that times 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
a lot more than
so
just that.
It compounds over time. I think Vingegaard nails all those little 1%.
And you think Pogacar didn't?
Yeah. I think the biggest difference between Vingegaard and Pogacar is a more wildly naturally talented guy. Maybe he's a little bit more blasé with some of that, and Vingegaard is not. Vingegaard is dialed.
What about someone on like Vingegaard's same team, like a guy like Wout van Aert, who's also a time trialist, who should have the same knowledge base that Vingegaard, and yet Vingegaard puts 3 minutes to him in the time trial.
So
suspicious.
Wout is a cycling god.
Here's
Vingegaard crushed.
You put 3 minutes into
Here's the difference from this.
Okay.
This is fair. So I'm going off of I watched a video where they really looked at the time trials. Okay.
Yep.
Especially the time differences between Pogacar and Vingegaard, because everybody just wants to look at, it had to be watts. Everybody's thinking it had to be watts. Like Vingegaard put out some alien watts.
We talked about this already. It was 7.5 watts per kilo for 14 minutes.
That was not his actual power data. That was a guesstimate. I was looking at that. It's a guesstimate.
All right.
So where he's making up time, when I've seen, there's a side-by-side video of these. One, he's taking the corners wildly better than Pogacar. Like he was getting 1 second to 2 second per corner. Okay. So there were 16 corners. So 32 seconds right there. He also, look at his position. Yes, they both work a lot on their position. Vingegaard literally looked invisible in the wind. And his warm-up, Pogacar also was got to the start line way early, apparently lost a lot of time in the first, 4K. It was already he was losing 4 seconds per K early on.
No, he was ahead of whoever, the rest of the entire field.
I'm just comparing Pogacar to Vingegaard is the only two.
Yes.
Vingegaard had apparently simulated this multiple times on what warm-up he responded best to.
Yeah.
So this dude was dialed going into this. And if you look at earlier in the tour, where did Vingegaard get his minute before? On a flat stretch.
Yeah.
So Vingegaard's putting out great power, and outside of just getting outbursted by Pogacar at the end of these stages, had already proven that over a time period where he was not getting pulls from anybody else, Vingegaard was on the front of that group, he put time into Pogacar there. So I don't think it was this weird blood bag, all of a sudden Vingegaard is fitter than Pogacar moment. It was Vingegaard knows Pogacar surges better than him. He's going to lose him at the end of stages every once in a while. When it came to those sustained efforts, Vingegaard was better this year, period. And I think Pogacar, if you really ask Pogacar, do you think Vingegaard's doping? I think he would say, no, this is what I'm more scared of him.
He also had the advantage of going behind Pogacar.
Yeah.
And there is
sitting and responding.
And you've got
Do you know
somebody
the
in your
mental
ear.
of yes, you know if he's telling him you're getting 4 seconds on him each. I mean, think
that's
of
huge.
how competitive these guys are. That's
A
drugs
carrot
right
to
there.
chase,
That is drugs.
A carrot to chase will make all of the difference in the world.
I would love to know
Especially
if he
when you
hadn't
start
had a
seeing
radio in
cars.
his head and didn't know.
Yeah.
I would have loved to know if he actually would have gotten that much time, but he would have gotten less time.
I would say it would be significant less.
Yeah.
So
And then you start to see cars
He was
come
descending
into, like,
wildly better,
You're like,
too.
hey, this person's
Yeah.
2 minutes up, and I'm starting to see his cars come up. I mean, that's
So
like, talk about
dig.
drugs.
If you
dig a little
if
bit
you guys
more,
were watching too, and I know that I know we all don't ride. I know that we got 2 actual cyclists here with mountain bikers. But Matt, were you watching how he was taking those corners in the bars?
Yeah.
So
That's-
that was Pogacar had to keep on coming on the drops on a couple of those. If you
Natural.
can nail a corner in the drops on
I
a
know,
descent,
it's a lot.
you gain time because I mean, and not only was he nailing the corners, he was in his tuck going into those corners.
He
Like
stayed tucked a lot,
he
significantly
took
longer.
a ton of risks.
And
So
then the,
I think
and then the bike
just-
change
Yep,
was
no bike change. Yep.
So that's also momentum. So he carries a ton of momentum going into the start of that climb. Pogacar has to stop, get the momentum going. That's got to be like 15 seconds, right? I forget what the number in the video they were saying, but it was like ballpark 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So you got this situation where, he put over a minute, I think it was, for the time trial.
It's like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And then the
Minute
next
40.
and then the next day, it was a 6 minute
5.5 minutes, almost 6 minutes the next day.
of time, and that was clearly Pogacar just bust.
That was
like,
just
I
Pogacar
think that
cracking.
was yes. Yes.
and that could be
This
a
is where I'm saying
nutritional.
I think it was all the little things that Vingegaard over 3. If you put these two guys up next to each other in one day, Pogacar's the best one day cyclist in the world right now. We can make the argument with MVP and Wout, but I think on most courses and styles of riding, Pogacar's the best rider in the world.
Probably depends on the course.
Not over 3 weeks against Vingegaard.
Well,
Vingegaard is
Do you think
dialed.
that? Do you think that
He was
Pogacar
fully
should have?
dialed.
Do you think Pogacar should have sprinted at the end of each of those
Nope.
stages?
I think he's going to learn his lesson again and again. Is that if he wants to
keep
beat
learning his
Vingegaard,
lesson.
I don't think he is.
if he wants to beat Vingegaard, he cannot. I think
He
that
needs to be-
Vingegaard is so. Looking back at this tour, you realize Vingegaard. Yes, he was scared of those attacks, but I bet in his head he's like, "There's another.
There's another match.
There's another match.
He looked confident.
There's another
Like,
match."
he would get out kicked, and then he would still be smiling at the end of the stage,
'cause
which
he
I
knew-
was
you know he
watching.
knew. He
I was
knew.
watching to see
Yeah.
if he starts mentally to cracking, like that's the end of his.
There was
he's
that,
like all about that positive
so
mental.
Vingegaard knew when you looked at this tour, and that's why I looked at the map. And so Vingegaard also spent a lot more time at altitude than Pogacar did this last year. Vingegaard knew that this tour was going to be decided on that time trial and altitude stage. That was where the tour was going to be won this year. All of his prep leading into this was geared towards being good in those two disciplines at altitude for sustained efforts and a time trial.
I actually thought that there would be more of a bloodbath in the first week or whatever, with people saying hey, here's Pogacar coming in a little out of control, maybe he's not quite as sharp as he should be, and we have climbs in the first week. I thought there was going to be a lot more fireworks that first week, and there was.
They were pretty
some,
even
but
for those.
Yeah,
almost
but
for
not
2
but not
weeks, they
between
were
those
pretty
two. You're
even.
right. They were dead even until it got to those two.
And
stages.
Pogacar looked really good for coming off a wrist injury. So
yeah, he's in amazing shape. I mean, it's just Pogacar, quote unquote, in fitness is best in the world. So that's his bar. Is I'm either the best in the world or I'm out of shape.
So the question then is, well, next year, and we're going to look at the tiebreaker. They're both 2-2. They've both been the two on the top of the podium for the last 4 years. And
3 years.
4.
4.
Yeah.
Was it 4?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Roglic was out when he won it the first year. So
Pogacar won twice, and then Vingegaard won twice. So they've been the top for the last
4
4 years.
Oh, yeah. My bad. So they've been 1 and 2 for 3 straight years, but they both have 2 and 2 when it comes to.
Yes.
I think 4 years ago.
Roglic was second to him 4 years ago.
Was it second?
And Vingegaard wasn't there.
Vingegaard
He
not.
was.
4 years ago.
But he was
I
not
believe
leading the team.
I'll pull it up in just a second.
Okay, yeah. Pull it up.
Regardless, they've both been the
which is a record now.
Exactly.
That's a record for consecutive years.
Going into next year, I think all of the pressure is going to be on UAE because they've lost the last 2 years now to Vingegaard, and they have to go back and they have to start breaking this apart, and they have to start listening to all the different pundits. They have to start looking at all the little factors and all of the things that came about that caused him to not win these last 2 years. I think what Matt has said, talking about the whole sprinting every single stage, That's going to be a big thing. And then how they're going to treat the Spring Classic leading up to that. Now, you made a comment like, well, maybe they want to win those, but
it's the Tour.
It's the Tour.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got like
Which is
arguably
a shame because that's a loss for cycling fans if Pogacar doesn't get to focus on the Spring Classics.
Well,
Because
it's
man,
not
he
to
makes
say
it
that he
exciting.
can't do a couple of them, but I mean, don't do everything.
Historically,
And if
you
he doesn't
pick-
break his wrist, it maybe looks different this year.
that
I mean,
too.
Yeah, I agree. Historically, I do think that you either pick the monuments or you pick the Tour. Like if you look,
Yeah,
like even
I agree.
Lance,
In this era, you kind of have to. I mean,
well,
that's,
it's even years
Pogacar
past.
is the one guy of this era that's been able to not do
Agreed.
it. But the problem is now he's living in the Vingegaard era all of a sudden. And if
Yeah.
Vingegaard's goal is I'm going to win the Tour every year, Pogacar's not going to beat him if he's focusing on the Spring
Not for
Classics
nothing,
too.
Remco Evenepoel could be racing the Tour next year.
Man, I hope not. But God, that'd be great. You know,
And it would be great for the sport.
I'm sure he'll be there next year.
Those three going at it. If Remco can get himself to that level over 3 weeks, is going to be
It'd
so
neat.
exciting.
It'll be great to watch. I do think that those two are a
And don't
different level.
sleep on Simon. Will be back next year.
But
Simon Yates wants a podium.
You got to start penciling him in.
I am.
Put him at
Simon
first.
Yates will be on the podium. Sorry, David Gadou. I can't. Why'd I bet on the French guy? I shouldn't have never bet on a French guy. But
You always say that.
I know, and then I
No,
bet
I'm
on a
going to
French
take
guy.
this
And then
French guy.
every
This
year
is
I
going to be
bet
the year,
French
and then at the end of it, it's like, why did I do that?
Never should have picked
I feel
a
like we
French
should
guy.
apologize to Simon Yates right now because he's just doomed.
I really
Kevin
should have
is-
gone back and just done Adam second, Simon third, and just been like, this is what's going to. The Yates brothers are both it this year.
Vingegaard did not do the Tour in 2020. He did the Vuelta.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
he did the Vuelta in 2020.
So they've been 1 and 2, 21, 22, 23.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
First time ever that's
I
happened.
stand corrected. So, regardless, who are you going to call for 25 or 24? 2024.
That's a great
It's so early
question.
to
Nah,
know.
this
It's
is
so
better than
early to
Super Bowl
guess.
picks. I like this. What's your podium for 2024?
I mean, seriously, yeah, you're going to call the the Yates brothers to say that they're going to be up there trying
I'll
to
say
disrupt this.
Simon will be number 3 on the podium, but it's going to be Pogacar, Vingegaard.
It's still
again.
fair to say that those two guys are going to be your top two dogs until proven otherwise.
That's a
Who
smart
wins
guess.
things? I mean, who does Pogacar do the things that are necessary to unseat him? And what is UAE going to do different as a team to make that happen?
UAE's physiologist and their head coach is their physiologist, in my opinion, really. I think if you look at that relationship, he's going to try to change Pogacar's approach, I bet. He's very involved in how he trains leading into the Tour. So I think Pogacar wins it next year.
Yeah.
I think he does. I think Vingegaard will be second, and it's going to be a wild battle. I think it'll be crazy.
And the crazy thing is Pogacar will be 25 at the Tour next year.
Yep.
Yeah, and what's
And
Vingegaard,
it's
like
like he's
27?
I mean, he's been around.
This could be the next 10 years
This will be his
cycling.
5th year of doing this, and
26.
he's just 25. So
he won't be in the white jersey contest anymore?
no,
he won't.
he set the record. Was it
It's past his
70,
prime.
70 something in a row?
Yeah, it's like
Old man.
72 days.
Yeah, he turns-
74 days total.
I was
and
going to ask that. I was
72
like,
in a row.
Merckx is the only other guy I could think was maybe close to that, but that'd be it. Yeah.
That's an insane record that
So-
will probably never be broken
No,
again. But he
yeah,
turns
that'll probably
25, I think, in September, if I'm not mistaken, is what they said.
Unless, how old is Carlos Rodriguez? Not that I'm thinking that he's going to break
22.
into this, but he's, yeah.
Well, and you've got Remco. What's
Also,
going to happen with him?
Can we go to another thing that I called was that Pidcock cracked towards the end there? Who didn't believe that he was going to crack? Was that everybody but me? In my head, it was.
I kind of thought.
Think whatever you want, Evan.
I think we need to go to the tape. I'm pretty sure Lance thought he was going to make it all the way.
No, that
close. Was that Jake?
Jake picked him on his fantasy team for several of it, hoping that he would do well.
I
but-
thought he'd get some stage wins. I
thought
thought
he'd
that,
get-
'cause,
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
he
more of a safe
did
bet.
did well last year. He
Carlos
just
is the much better GC rider between
crapped
those
the
two.
bed
I
this
think.
year. He
I
just
think
didn't do anything.
Carlos can last over three weeks.
He coined himself as an imposter or something along those lines.
He
So-
said he called himself a GC imposter. He
yeah.
felt like a GC imposter.
That's too harsh on himself. But unfortunately, in this era, it's like, all right, you're either Pogacar, Vingegaard, or really, really good. Like you need to be close to third.
All right. Well, we've beat this whole tour thing to
Yep.
death. Let's any other hot takes, Lance? Did you throw out your hot take?
No, I think we've talked about it enough.
All right.
I mean,
Well, I do have one hot take, and my hot take is they need to get rid of this whole final stage 21 format, and they need to open it up and do the whole lead out the whole procession thing, 5Ks, let everybody drink champagne if they want to, but I wouldn't, and just say
I
go.
think it's
Just-
ending with a time
well,
trial.
next year it
Next
is
year's
because
weird.
of the
That's right. They won't be able to do it.
the
in front of
Olympics are going to
Eiffel.
be in France.
Yeah.
or
Oh,
in
that's
Paris.
the reason. I didn't know that was the reason. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so it'll finish with an uphill time trial on stage 21 or a time trial of some sorts. I'm guessing it'll
that's
be uphill
awesome.
because
It's
that
in
has been
Nice.
working out really well for them.
In Nice.
Yeah, in
Okay.
Nice.
Probably near where the
But
World Championship course is going to be for Ironman.
2025, it'll come back. They'll finish on the Champs again. I
don't care about the Champs-Elysees sprint either. It doesn't do it for me.
That's blasphemy for traditionalists.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that there's people like burning. Yeah.
That stage 21, half of it just completely sucks, and then half of it is kind of fun and
Do
exciting.
you think the riders like it though? Because we're all like, oh, we want more blood on the 21st stage. You're like, no, I want to drink champagne and
No,
chill.
plus it was like a 500-kilometer transfer for him the night before.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no,
mean,
they probably don't like
it was
that.
that's hard
Yeah.
on everybody to move everybody that far from stage
yeah.
20 in to
It's a
start
lot of
21.
logistics.
It's a lot of logistics.
What if they did like they go to the cobbles on the last? They like go to some just brute. It's like they just do Paris-Roubaix on the last.
We
day.
didn't really have a big cobble stage this year.
No, we didn't.
No, they didn't.
Which was kind of boring, but not boring, but
But the first two stages were more different because it was more bass climbing.
Is it truly a 3-week Grand Tour if you're cleaving off that last day and it's just more of like a formality for a sprinter to get some pomp and circumstance and glory to win a stage on the Champs? I mean, yeah, that's cool for a sprinter, but is it truly a Grand Tour, 3-week Grand Tour if that last day isn't
whatever
a
the
true
Tour
race?
de France does is what a Grand Tour is. It is the standard. So
Well,
yes,
it's funny because even the Vuelta and the Giro kind of caught. I mean, the Giro always ends in a sprint in Milan, right? Or wherever they end up.
Sure.
I think is the last stage is a sprint.
Rome.
So it's the other Grand Tours trying
It
to
was in
copy
Rome.
that same idea. Rome, my bad. Yeah, Rome.
I just think that they need to say go.
Yeah.
Make it interesting, so that you can actually go and race this thing. Let them drink champagne afterwards.
But the TV coverage of the cyclists riding through the Louvre and
That's
going
true.
along the
That's very
Champs and going past the Arc de Triomphe.
The sponsors
that's-
like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's beautiful
Makes
images.
very
It's
cool
like
photos.
It's like architecture, French
It is.
architecture porn.
Yeah.
For seeing all the beautiful things that are in France.
It's
That
also
all happens on
crazy
stage
that they
21.
Let
Ride to
them
the
go
Louvre.
balls to the wall through there, and it's that much
Through
better.
the Louvre.
yes, someone just like splattered against the
glass,
through it.
The glass on the Louvre.
Why
yeah.
not? Come on.
That would make for good TV.
the Arc de
Yes.
Triomphe. that's just
Unchained would
blood.
eat that up.
Okay, so I think that we're going to get the best of both worlds because yes, we have the tradition or whatever it is, but next year we finish with the time trial. We finish with like a balls to the wall, like hard effort from anyone that wants to make an effort at it. And so we'll get that a bit of a race in the last race. And so we can see how that goes and we can compare it. And if like the sponsors are like, yep, it's not doing it for us, then that's your answer.
Well, I still think that everybody wants it to finish in Paris. I think that makes sense. I mean, that's the heartbeat
Tradition.
of France, and it's tradition, but just let them freaking race the whole thing. Like if you need to do the whole neutral rollout for the first few Ks to get your photo ops and then let them roll and let them like go after it.
But really,
make the course interesting.
All
Make
the
'em-
sponsor should care about right now is that if Unchained has season after season, that's all that should matter to the sponsors. Let's be honest, eyeballs are just on Netflix these days. So it's like, I mean, if
that grows
if
even
I'm
bigger.
a company, I really don't care that we're going through the Louvre. I care because it's awesome. Like that's cool. But like, I mean, for pomp and purpose, they're like, okay, we're a vacuum company.
Yeah.
Let's get on Netflix because we're just looking for people to order this online. I don't care if it's a picture in front of the Arc de Triomphe. As cool as
I
it
would
is.
rather see them
I
racing
would
through
miss
there.
it at some point. I feel like I feel like the tour would lose a little bit of its history and
If it wasn't finishing in...
I mean, the race has been going on since 1908, 1904, whatever the first year was.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I mean, it's just something that has so much history to. I mean, it's literally gone through 2 world wars. Which is kind of crazy to think
Just
about.
imagine if you put like some stupid steep climb in there, but that's not like terribly long. Maybe it's like, I don't know, like a 3-minute climb or a 2-minute climb, but it's
What
like
the
a
Giro did
20%
this year.
gradient or
Or
something
the
like
Giro
that.
went up a mountain bike course to finish.
Exactly.
basically.
And then you got to go through the streets and you make some sort of like, like crit or something like that. It's not going to be a crit because you're not going to be going in circles, but you're doing some really tight stuff.
Throw some
And
hay
gives-
bells out there and make a cyclocross. Come on, guys.
Just do some stuff to make it interesting and let some people try and establish a breakaway and get on the Champs and make it a true bona fide race where a guy could potentially put in some time and make up like a few minutes if they played their cards right.
I think they're going to keep it traditional. I think they're going to come back to the same format.
Oh, they're boring. That's lame.
Yeah, it's UCI. So
that's just my take.
My last thought about this, if you haven't seen Matej Mohoric's post-race interview after he won stage 19, it is worth going back and seeing.
I haven't seen it.
He is on Bahrain's team, and so he won stage 19 in that
dramatic fashion.
where they couldn't tell who won. It was
because the
super
camera
close.
pulled away because they
camera
thought they
pulled
were going to
away.
get caught and they did not get caught. Yeah.
But his post-race interview and the love that he shared for his team and his fallen teammate Gino Mater and just all all what has to happen for a rider to actually win a stage, he just said it eloquently and beautiful. It's a great interview. You should see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was cool to hear him talk about the insecurities too, because it was funny to hear one of the strongest cyclists in the world say he didn't think he belonged in the Tour.
Yeah.
And
it's Mohoric.
Matej Mohoric is top 10 cyclists in the peloton right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like pick on any stage, any ground, like, Mohoric should be there in the front. To hear how insecure he sounded, that is really speaks volumes, I think, to how much pressure it is to be a professional athlete like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, one last thing. Matt Legrand, you always start us off. Let's do it again.
I did post a video this past week about 10 cheap cycling accessories that you should consider picking up.
Triathlon accessories.
This is a triathlon podcast, isn't it?
Sure.
I get confused.
Pretty sure it is. It's a running podcast.
A lot of things do cross over.
We talked about Ryan Hall.
There's a product announcement that's going to be on Thursday, and so be on the lookout for that. And then I think after that I have like this ring. It's called the Ultra Human Ring. There's a video. I'll do a review of this ring soon. Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It'll track your sleep. It'll do all this stuff. It's like a whoop strap.
A whoop strap or
It's
an
a whoop
Aura
strap or an
ring.
Aura ring.
Okay.
What's cool is I took a nap at some point. Like, I don't remember which day it was. And it was like, we think you just took a nap. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. I wish Garmin did that or
Whoop
the
does
Apple
that.
Watch. Whoop.
Recognizes
Shut up, Whoop.
your naps.
Okay, here's the actual distinguishing factor. The Oura Ring, subscription. Whoop, subscription. This, I think you have the choice of buying it outright, and it's $350 if I remember correctly. I'll get all this right in the video in 2 weeks when I post this. Or you can get it for $200 and you can get a subscription to all of this stuff. So I think a lot of people are going to be subscription filled to the brim, and they don't want to deal with any of that anymore, and they're going to go for it that way. And that's really why I wanted to check out this.
Here's a question on that.
Yeah,
it has to have a battery in it, right?
It has a battery. It has temperature. It'll tell you like what your skin temperature is and how that is affecting your sleep. It does a lot of like suggestions, like, okay, try to avoid bright screens and lights at certain times. It gives you like this little window for sleeping things, and then morning time is talking about like, okay, try to get some exposure. Suggestions for like when to work out. It's actually pretty thick on stats.
Yeah, it's very similar to the wedding ring that I wear. It's one of these silicone ones in terms of size. It's maybe a touch bigger, but it's the fact that it's got like a full functioning battery in there and all the other
right?
Is this chip technology?
No, it's not. So my thought is that it's not the most comfortable ring that because I tried the Oura Ring, I reviewed it, and I thought it was pretty comfortable, even though it's thick or whatever. But
it's light.
They're calling this one the Ultra. So they've got two rings, this company, and this is called their Air Edition. So it is like thinner, and it's just not as comfortable as that's my negatives. Lots of positives about this product. My negatives will be in the video that it's not quite as comfortable. Like I find it like scratching things.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
what is the battery life on that?
I need to double check my notes, but I think like 5 days.
That's not too
Not
bad,
bad.
considering it's in a ring. That's bonkers if you ask me.
Yeah.
That it would last that long. That's pretty
maybe
cool.
4 days. I'd have to double check.
Well,
It's kind of it gives you a notification like right now I'm below 30% battery life. So
Sure.
when I get in front of the computer and I'm doing some work today, I'll slap it on this little ring charger thing and charge it up.
And again, is that something where you have to go into their proprietary app, or can you connect it to other stuff?
They have a proprietary app where you're getting all these insights into like your sleep
Sure.
and all this other stuff. And then the notifications tell you like, it'll give you, if we look at my notifications, it'll say like, you should get off your fat ass and maybe like, like, oh yeah, there you go. 6 minutes ago, it's like time to move. You've been sitting around talking about cycling. You're not actually cycling. You're just talking about cycling.
What if you're sitting while you're cycling?
Yeah. So it's good, but so you don't have to dive into the app to get the notifications, but it's not really connecting to Strava or anything like that because it doesn't really track workouts. They are having some software updates currently. It's in beta, but where they're saying like, yeah, we can track your heart rate for software for workouts and things like that. I wouldn't suggest using this for that as a tool because it's just like people say that the finger's a great accurate place to get heart rate data, and they are lying to themselves because it's not. So
interesting.
Yep.
Cool.
Be on the lookout for these videos coming to a YouTube channel near you at a time in the future.
Popstar.
Someday. Popstar. That's it.
Evan Price. One last thing.
Wait, can we hear about his race?
One last thing.
Oh, we can give a very one last thing recap.
One
of this.
last thing. Backpedal.
Yeah, I raced in Salem, Oregon this last weekend. Big pro field, downstream swim.
70.3. Half Ironman. Yep.
Half Ironmans.
Huge pro field.
Very big pro field. So went into it feeling good and hoping I could do better than I did. I did okay on the swim. It was a violent swim. That is for sure. My God.
Did you
non-wetsuit violent
did you
swim. Throw some bows?
Throw some bows.
I got some bows thrown at me. I got hit in the head quite a few times.
Did Lionel throw a bow at you?
Folly and Lionel. Me, him, and Ari were all like kind of next to each other and tried to cooperate. And then it just ended up just Lionel just bodying all of us, and then Folly bodying me. And then I was like, all right, time to try to catch feet. So still swam just fine. Like came out 33rd out of 45, which is just
where was Ari in relation to you
like
on the swim?
15 seconds up. So it was there was a group 15 seconds right ahead of me.
Okay.
Yeah. So biked super well. That's, kind of been them. I'm now able to push. I can push 300 watts for a half bike, which is good.
Were you close to Ari in the bike?
Yeah, I was about 30 seconds off him on the bike.
So
but it's just
you
if you're not in these groups, there was a 12-person group up the road and they were moving fast at less watts. So it's just that's part of the game. And if you're not in that group, you better be able to push over 300 watts these days.
So you were on your own.
Yes. Moving through the field at that point. So came off the bike in 21st, ready to. I thought, man, I'm going to have a top 20 day in this big field.
So did Ari sit in a group?
No. Me and Ari both kind of did the same thing where we were both just having to move from guy to guy. We were just moving through. We were just 30 seconds apart from each other.
I assume that Lionel was ahead of you guys in the swim.
Oh yeah. Lionel just tore through the field. He biked 159. Which was
that's what I would expect for him to move through the field.
Yeah, because I went like 210 almost on the dot, and going under 210 on that course solo is strong. You got to be like a 4.5 watt per kilo guy to be able to do that for the half.
I just think like maybe if you're somehow figure out a way to make your bike more chill, because you could. I think you could run 115.
My legs felt good though, so like there was no cramping. The problem was I did launch a bottle, so I lost half my nutrition, which sucks. But I've been just having trouble with my run lately. I feel like my old self.
I think you need a reasonably chill bike to go 115 on the run, and that's I feel like very doable for you.
It does. It just means swimming,
which is very fast.
It means swimming a little better and being with the guys I know are around that bike speed because
you need to sit in on the bike a bit.
Yeah, because you still gotta in a race like this with 45 guys, you still got to be able to bike like
mentally. I think that's gonna be hard for you to be like, I'm gonna sit in on the bike.
Yeah. So I like going to the front on the bike, but no, I did not run super great. Ran 123 or something, which is just honestly embarrassingly and frustratingly terrible after so many years now of building up the run to where I know I need to be running 115, 116. Running a 123 is like the equivalent of studying for a test and then not filling in 50% of it and failing and dropping out of school was what that race felt like to me. So
you think it's partially nutrition, partially due to cycling a bit on the hard side?
I don't think I'm the same runner that I was last year, so I'm making changes. So I'm making a lot of changes to how I'm approaching my run training, and I don't think I've been training hard enough this year, so I'm making shifts.
Okay,
yeah.
You're still working with the coach.
I'm going to make changes going into the rest of this year. So yeah, nothing wrong with the coach. My coach is an absolutely wonderful person. He is seriously one of the best guys I've ever met in the sport. And if anybody ever asked me, they're like, "Hey, I'm a budding pro and I'm looking for a coach," I would refer them to
So would you say that it'd be a happy medium that you're going towards, basically like what old Evan versus new Evan with the coach? You're going to try and find that like a happy medium ground in there.
There's a spot in the middle that I need to lie, and I'm going to find that spot. But I know that people watch like a Lionel Sanders channel. They roll their eyes all the time because Lionel's going.
You and I always love to make fun of
Lionel. From coach to coach, and they're like, "Oh, he just needs to stick with stuff." But I want people to understand something, that when you're racing in the mid pack for a couple years, there are guys that I've beaten in the past and I know I should be at that are now getting top 10 results. And it's random and tough sometimes when you're in these 10 to 30 slots in these races. Little things matter. And I am going on 32 next weekend. So my window is my window is shrinking time-wise. Mm-hmm. I don't have all the time in the world to wait to see if a stimulus works. I'm old enough and coached myself long enough now after 13 years of coaching myself and now 14 years in triathlon. I have an idea of what was dumb in my past, what I respond well to and what I don't respond well to. So I'm going to trust the people. I have people I've set up around me to make sure I'm not training myself completely stupid. I'm
What
not
about-
training
what about
myself
Josh?
entirely.
Is Josh one of those people?
Yes, Josh and Ari are those two people, and it's
They're good people.
I have no problem sharing any of this stuff because I have nothing
Is Josh
bad to say
is
about
Josh going to stick with the same coaching situation?
Absolutely, and he should because
working.
he's
Working for
been
him. It's working,
Josh.
yeah.
Josh had it. That was going to be one of my lessons. Was just going to be Josh Monda. Absolutely went out there and showed. Not only is he one of the best amateurs in North America, if not the top 3 amateur probably in North America right now, he is going to go in the pro field at the end of this year and next year and be very solid. I mean, like I think.
How did he do? What was
he won the amateur race
by a landslide,
by like 8 minutes. He won the amateur race by like 8 or 9 minutes, but he's also like 43, right? 42,
42,
and he won the freaking amateur race. Come on, that's
he's
amazing.
getting, and just the improvements from last year Josh to this year Josh show that he is not just going to be that amateur guy that comes in and disappears in the mid pack. I actually think Josh, at his best, continuing at this rate with Elliot, our coach, has done an amazing job with Josh, and I think that he's ready to be that guy that can be in the conversation for top 10s, top 15s in these races.
Wow.
And it's going to be fun to watch. I still think that his best race is probably going to be in the Ironman, which is tough because that's just freaking hard to.
Yes,
hard to
I
race.
agree with that.
Ironman's a lot in the
think
pro
he's-
field, but I think
he's got it, man. He knows how to race an Ironman.
he's dialed. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
hard to figure
he's got
out.
his nutrition down. He's really got his effort dispersion. He's very smart with how he races. So it's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, I am for my own self gonna make changes, and I would fully support Josh staying with his plan right now because he's dead on, like nailing it. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yep.
Cool. Lance Epler, one last thing.
I am also racing my bike this weekend.
Yes, you are.
Excuse me. So, the Obra Short Track Championships are on Saturday morning, short track mountain bike racing. And then the Obra Cross Country Mountain Bike Racing are on Sunday. So
correct. Where's that at?
It's at the Washougal Motocross Park in Washougal, Washington.
And who's putting that on?
Zone 5 Promotions and our friend Scott Schultz.
Yep.
So we're putting that on.
And it's the state championship for?
State championship for the state of Oregon and state championship for the state of Washington.
Correct.
So it's
Obra and WSBA playing nice.
Yes, they're doing something together, which is fantastic.
Which is good. Very good.
So I'm going to show up and I'm going full cob, no jackass. I am just going to jump right in and see how fast I can go. I am not as fit or as fast as I was at the beginning of the season because I've taken this little mid-season break and I've been all wedding joy. So, but we'll just go show up and see how it goes.
Sweet. My one last thing is I will not be at that race racing my bike because I am still currently dealing with some issues, but I did want to go out there and at least cheer everybody on and take photos. I don't think I'm even going to be able to do that because I looked at the calendar and I kind of had my days off a little bit, and I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be going up to Seattle and then flying out to Colorado and looking at 4 different universities for my daughter.
Oh, cool. All right.
So, yeah, there might be a chance that I can come out Saturday morning, but we're going to be driving up to Seattle to see some family real quick and then go catch a flight and yada, yada, yada. So
my race is early on Saturday.
Try and cheer you on a little bit. No, that's fine.
What colleges is she visiting up there?
We're going to look at UW, and then we're going to fly over to Colorado, and she's going to look at Colorado State, University of Colorado Boulder, and then University of Denver, is it? Is that the one in Denver?
Yeah.
Whatever that is. So we're looking at those 3. The one that she's most interested out there is University of Colorado, and
Boulder,
potentially, and potentially UW. But I have a sneaking suspicion that she's going to stay quasi-local, and she might end up at the University of Oregon. So
Gotcha.
We'll see.
Yeah.
That should be fun. But I guess
might
my
like
one last
UW.
thing, since Lance already kind of squashed that because I had a sneaking suspicion he was going to say that, is there's also another gravel race this weekend that you should go check out. Our friend over at Mike Ripley over at Mudslinger, he's doing that. Was it the Sasquatch Duo?
Sasquatch Duro.
Or Duro or whatever it
Yes.
is. It's like one of the last gravel races on the calendar for the
It
year,
is.
right?
It's out of Oak Ridge, Oregon.
Yep.
So kind of down, not far from Eugene.
Yep. Have you done that one before, Matt?
I have not.
Yeah.
I've ridden all around there, and part of those roads were part of the Oregon Trail gravel grinder that we did.
Yep.
There's a lot of freaking climbing out there.
Lots of racing to be had this weekend. So if you want to go race your bike, you got options. Got options, my friend. All right, guys, anything else before we wrap this thing up?
That's it. Thanks for having us.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks for making your way over here, Evan. It was good to have you in
No
studio
problem.
for that. Lance,
Yeah.
got anything else?
Nope.
Oh, I guess one last time, congratulations to Darby
The
and
family.
Julie.
Absolutely.
Big
Yeah.
congratulations. That's awesome.
It looked
Thank
like a
you.
blast.
It was a
We were
blast.
living vicariously through it on Instagram.
It was a good time. It was a good time. Thank you, guys.
Cool. All right. Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with another one of these. And until then, bye for now.